Hey everyone, it's Bonnie with Aimwell, and today we are continuing our chakra series, moving into the Sacral Chakra, or our Svadhisthana. Our Sacral Chakra is the center for pleasure, that's sexual health, that's just overall pleasure, including healthy relationships, creativity, and overall optimism. This video's purpose is to go over individual postures that you can practice at any time to try and unblock your sacral chakra on your own. When we think about the sacral chakra, physically we are thinking about the space between our root, so the very base and pelvis, and in between our navel. So it's really the sexual organs, the reproductive bladder organs, and also we want to think about the posterior side and our sacrum, which is an inverted triangle. So the top of it is going to be long and it's going to narrow down to a point. So that is really physically where we're thinking. Energetically, we're thinking about water, fluidity. We are bringing to mind the color orange. There are some other key elements that the sacral chakra revolves around, including crocodile, so this side to side powerful movement, and also physically our mandible or our jaw. Often, if we feel that we've got a blocked sacral chakra, we might feel that we've got blockages in our creativity, we don't have a sex drive, we might not find overall joy and pleasure, and we might also feel tension in the jaw. So all of these elements to say, if you find that you've got a blocked sacral chakra, no worry, you are in good company. It happens to all of us. These are also poses that will help you prepare for our soon-to-come sacral flow, which will be an overall alignment and reconnection with this area of our bodies. If you have forgotten what the sacral chakra is, or chakras in general, this is what they are. The chakras, we've got 7 large chakras, which are energetic centers. They're spinning wheels that create alignment in our lives and in our bodies. When we have a blocked chakra, things such as unhealthy relationships, lack of creativity, a lack of sex drive might emerge. And the sacral chakra is going to help you continue to find alignment further more towards the ground. Let's get into it. Today we have a good amount of postures to explore, so I am going to go through these with the invitation that you take the time that you need. Pause this video, stay with the postures for a moment or two, and don't feel that you have to rush through these at the same speed in which I'm instructing them. I'm only giving you a little rundown of what these different postures are. The first posture, we're going to start on our back, and it's a simple out flare of the hip. You can think of this as a half butterfly posture. So we'll start on our back, knees going towards your ceiling or sky space, and you're opening one hip out at a time and closing it back, and then individually opening and closing the other hip. So as I mentioned, the sacral chakra, we think about the side-to-side movements, and this posture is really just going to help individualize the hip area. The next posture we'll explore, you will want a block or a book, pillow, bolster for, and it's going to be our supported bridge. And this is really where we bring some attention to our sacrum. Again, that's the back side of our body and a physical reminder of our sacral chakra. So we're going to sit our sacrum, again, that inverted triangle bone, onto the surface. We want that part of our body to feel supported. We'll then bend our knees, and you're in the supported bridge just like this. And this might feel great, and find a couple of things that you can do to take this posture a step further would be to extend the legs out long. And an option when one does this is to grab a strap or a belt and wrap it around the thighs. And not in this way, so I'm going to unwind my strap, slide the one end through the other, through the metal rings, pull this to the point where my hips and my legs are wrapped in distance apart, And then I would tighten this by taking the other side through one ring. And at this stage, I can extend my legs out long. The strap is going to keep my legs in line with my hips. And so I find a deeper extension of my spine and a supported bridge. The next posture we'll explore is our cobra. And our cobra is going to be another invitation for a little back bend. And our sacral chakra is highly sensitive and connected to our anterior tilt of our hips. So an anterior tilt of the hips, when it comes to cobra, looks like slightly pressing the tops of your hips, or slightly lifting, the top of the hips. My hands are going to dance on the ground. I'm going to splay my clavicle, shoulders open, chest open, gaze forward. My legs stay on the ground. Cobra. Another posture that is great for sacral chakra realignment is our Svadhisthana. You'll come to notice that many of our postures that deal with our sacral chakra are going to be hip openers. And that is because that area of our body does hold tension. And if we feel this intensity and stress, this emotional upheaval, then that often does block joy, optimism, sex, things of that nature. Our Svadhisthana is going to begin with our hands framing our knee and our shoulders square with our legs. Now, you might hinge further, or you can stay where you are just to explore what this one hip feels like. You'll want to explore on the opposite side by taking one leg out long and drawing the opposite foot in. You want to go for the heel close to the pelvic bone. And then again, rotate through the hips, square the hands on the ground, framing the knee, and hinge if one needs to. All right. We'll move into our cow posture. So I just mentioned our anterior tilting of our hips. So let's go through that again. We start in tabletop, and typically in tabletop we begin in a neutral spine, neutral hip. When we anterior tilt, we're pressing the tops of our hips forward, and you'll see my tailbone moves the opposite direction, going back and up. My belly starts to go down in this case, and for a full cow, we, similar to cobra, broaden through our chest, open up through our collarbone, and look forward. Typically, this is paired with the cat, rounding, tucking the shin or tailbone, and this would be a posterior tilt of your hips because you are sending your tops of your hips back. And so you might find the rotation through this flushing through the cat-cow. One thing to mention about our sacral chakra, and specifically our sacrum, is that it holds the pump, if you will, for our cerebral spinal fluid. And this fluid is very important because it moves up and lubricates our spine, our brainstem, wrapping all the way around. So every time we are finding our cat-cow, or we are extending our back, finding a slight back bend, anterior tilting through our hips, we're helping pump that cerebral fluid and loosen up anything that has been stagnant in our bladder area. Last thing I want to share about the importance of pumping, loosening, discarding waste in this area is because you can think about our bladder muscles, or our bladder in general. They hold our waste. And if we aren't able to release, then we're going to hold on. And that goes to say, the same principle applies to stress and things that happen in our lives that we might be holding on to, if we can't find a way to release, then we will have blockages from joy, from sex, from pleasure, from creation. So let's keep this moving. We'll move now into our boat posture. Boat is a posture that is going to compress that area of our body, but it's also a powerful pose that will help find comfort and power, as I mentioned. So it's core, you can have toes on the ground, or you can bring the legs up. The next posture would be our Svadhisthana, which is our forward fold. And honestly, this is more of a protective posture. When we consider any trauma, any undue emotions or fear, if they have to do with the reproductive area of our bodies, our forward fold is quite protected. We're protected by our spine and our rib cage, protecting the vulnerable organs in front of us, and finding comfort and compression for that part of our body to really remind yourself that you are safe and secure here. And that might be really important if you are going through any amount of emotional turmoil. So we'll stand and continue exploration of postures that help us realign with our sacral chakra. These sitting postures might be great for recovery or restoration. Our standing postures are going to find more energy and excitement, and also help with strengthening and flexibility, but they will remain more hip openers. However, we start with the high lunge, which is a closed hip posture. We find our feet about 3 to 4 feet apart from each other, and we bend to that front knee, extending the arms overhead. Our high lunge is warming up parts of our body that's going to be critical to maintain some of our more energizing standing postures. And we'll want to practice the high lunge on both sides, just to get our legs ready. From here, let's start to explore our goddess posture. So our goddess posture is a hip opener that finds strength and stability in our inner thighs. Let's come back to the release. With our hips open and our pelvic floor wide and exposed, you can think about breathing into the release of stress and emotion and things that just aren't serving your body and your life. And I love a side-to-side motion in my goddess pose. Right. From goddess pose, we'll transition to triangle. I've already mentioned our sacrum, and our sacrum is an inverted triangle located right under our lumbar spine and connects into our pelvis. Triangles are a key element and theme when we consider realignment with our sacral chakra, and forming a triangle posture with your body, it's providing a stretch again in the inner hips and thighs. It's also helping the hips find that side-to-side movement, but more so one at a time. So I want to find triangle on both sides, and you hold this for as long as you would like. The main goal of our movement when it comes to realignment with our chakras, especially our sacral chakra, is fluidity. To really loosen and find mobility, especially in the SI joints in our body. We've got 2 more postures to explore. The first is going to be our warrior 2. For similar reasons as goddess and triangle, it's an open hip but yet strengthening posture that really evokes power, strength, flexibility, and stability. Svadhisthana is the Sanskrit pronunciation of the sacral chakra. The Sva of the Svadhisthana stands for self, you. And the sthana, the second half of that word, it stands for stability and security, which is something that our warrior 2 and many of the postures we've explored help evoke. The last posture is one of my favorite postures in the entire Rolodex of yoga, and it's our half moon. And the reason that it is such a great posture when one is trying to realign, reconnect with our sacral chakra, to simply unblock it, is because it is a posture that asks for a slight anterior tilt. Again, that's pushing the hip bones forward and having a little tuck or flare of the tailbone out, so slight back bend. It also is an open hip posture that evokes a bit of balance. And once you find that balance, what you're really yearning for is stability, right? So it helps you embody what it's like to be on the journey towards stability, and helps you stay patient along that journey, because the blocked sacral chakra can feel very frustrating. And often we find impatience when we get frustrated. So I ask, as you practice your half moon, that you ask for patience, think of the color orange, and remember that this is about fluidity, thinking about water. To get into half moon, we take one hand to a block or a wall or a book, possibly atop of the chair. We're balancing on one foot, and the first step is going to just be kicking that back leg up to a level that you feel that you can maintain. Once you find that posture, we'll start our back bend by pressing the lifted legs hip forward, and you'll notice the natural openness of the base leg. Once we get to this point, you're in the pose, my friend, so you just find a spot to stare at, focus, continue to breathe in patience, and think about the color orange. Again, all these postures are yours for the choosing. You can go through this entire video a few times just to get your mind and body familiar with the postures. You can skip around. And again, this will help you prepare for our next video, which is our entire sacral chakra realignment flow. Thanks for joining. Like, comment, share.